It's Wednesday, October 13, 1999. This is Ken Irwin. Okay, and I already queued this up with your name on it in the date.
Okay.
So,
I wouldn't want to be confused with
with Marion. I can tell you that.
When you have to watch out, we're Steve Netsky. I've been told that we sound very similar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why don't we go through quickly some of the earlier records just to fill in some of the gaps? And I've listened to everything we've done before.
Speaking of gaps.
Yeah, why don't you tell me more quickly, just clarify some things for me. Who, for example, exactly were the Spark Gap Wonder Boys?
There were three guys from the Cambridge area. Neil Rossi was, I think, at MIT, and David Duboulet was an underwater photographer for National Geographic, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And George Nelson, I think, was a mechanic. And I don't know quite how they got together. Ironically, we saw them at Union Grove for the first time, which is a long way to go to see neighbors.
Did you know of them existing?
Don't believe so.
Okay, so you saw them performing.
Right. Well, they won the competition.
Okay.
And, against all these, people who'd been around and in the tradition for years and years and years.
And then said, we're from Boston or something?
Yeah, Cambridge. And, well, we might have approached them anyway, just, being the world champions,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing as little as we knew at the time.
Right. Okay. Now, are they still around, these guys?
We hear from Neil fairly often now that he's on email. He's on Bluegrass L, and so we've been back in touch, and I've had some email communication with him, which I can share with you, about his feelings when we approached him and things like that.
Okay.
That's fun.
How long did they perform after this album?
Not all that long, and I don't remember seeing them performing even in Cambridge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I ever saw them at maybe a Boston, maybe a Boston area friend show, but they, it's not like they were touring in the way of Highwood String Band or Freight Hoppers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did the album sell at all?
In the long run, I think it sold over 5,000 copies, which absolutely shocked us.
That's to date?
Yeah.
But up to in the first few years, did anyone?
Oh, in the first few years, we had virtually no distribution.
Right.
I think I remember when we got an order from Jack's record seller for 25 pieces, and we were just ecstatic. Or maybe it was 50 pieces, but it was, that was just amazing.
Maybe I should clarify then a few things. When did you first sell, as much as 50 records of something,
At a time?
Yeah, or in a period of 3 months. In a period of 6 months. I'm trying to get a sense of how long it was that you kind of just sat around with your records, except when you were out there hawking them from cartons and tables.
Well, that first year with the two records, you probably have on tape the whole thing about how we got into distribution.
Mm-hmm.
And the second year, I think our biggest distributor in those early period was a guy named Jeep Holland at Discount Records in Harvard Square, who would take in our records and then ship them out to all the other Discount record stores.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like our biggest distributor, I think, on a lot of our records. So probably would have been, I would guess, probably the third year before we actually started selling any kind of decent quantities.
Around 74, perhaps? 73,
74, somewhere.
Okay. And that was once you had set up a distribution network of your own with other...
Well, it started.
Yeah.
It took quite a while to really set up.
Right, okay. But that was you as a distributor. What did you call yourselves exactly? Or was it just Rounder Distributing?
Probably Rounder Distribution.
Okay. All right, we talked some about Joe Val. I know he played around.
A lot, yeah.
A lot, yeah. We've talked about that. How'd you come to record Clark Kessinger? I assume you'd seen him?
We had seen him at Union Grove. We had also become friendly by then with Ken Davidson of Kanawha Records, from whom we bought the George Pegram, and he had recorded a couple albums of Clark, and by that time he was really slowing down on the Kanawha, and I believe we asked Ken if we could record Clark, and he said sure, and so we arranged to record Clark, and did so with our friend Ted Osborne, who flew down from Ithaca, and we recorded this in a motel room. Recorded pretty much what's there, and we were going to come back a second time and finish up recorded another session, and Clark had a very serious stroke like the week before we were going to go down, and I later went down, and I think we went and visited him, tried to visit him at his hospital, and gone home, and we went to visit him in his home, and it was one of the saddest things that I've encountered to this time, and I often refer to it in speaking with other people who've had debilitating physical problems, in that Clark's mind was still totally there, and his right hand was fine, but he couldn't hold the strings down with his left hand, and he was so frustrated, and his fiddling was just such an important part of him, and it was really heartbreaking.
What did he do? Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Yeah. What did he do for a living?
Yeah, what did he do for a living?
I don't remember. I think he was probably retired by the time we met him.
Okay. Okay. And was he simply, can we record you okay? Any preliminaries at all beyond your standard introductions?
No, he was fine, and very, very friendly, and not at all put off by our hippie look, whatever. I guess just having another record at the time was good. When you're his age and you'd been pretty much forgotten since the 20s, and have an opportunity to, and I think he was aware that of the impact of the Kanawha records, that people realized that he was, that he had been rediscovered and was, back out there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. How well did those records get out?
Probably about the same as ours from that period. Okay. They probably got out through county sales. I don't think he had much distribution. Kanawha had much distribution at all.
I guess Ken Davidson died?
No.
Oh, he's
He's around,
around?
but he has quite serious emotional problems.
And that was the case back even then, I guess.
Well, not to that effect. I mean, not to the point where he signs his letters, Bishop Ken Davidson. And, I mean, it's a really sad situation.
Okay. Did Kessinger have much of a folk revival career? 10 years?
Minimal, yeah. There weren't too many places at the time that were doing real traditional music in terms of the revival. At least, in terms of old time music.
Certainly.
It was fine for, if you played, if you were, if he had been Afro-American and played blues, he would have had a much better opportunity, because clubs were booking people like that. But outside of, Clarence Ashley, who did a few dates, I mean, very few of the old-time musicians had much of a revival.
And you're talking even in 63?
Yeah. I mean, where else did Hobart Smith? He probably played Newport, and maybe he could play the Ash Grove and Club 47, but they were really limited places. It seems hard for us who love the music and recognize how great it is, but the options for most people playing certain types of music were very, very, very limited, and still are.
You also, if you narrow yourself in a certain world, you can read a lot about the activities of the Mike Seeger and the John.
Oh, yeah.
You can read so much about these activities that it can create a sense that everyone knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were
Oh,
all
yeah.
over.
Yeah. No, it's just, no, we used to, I'm not sure, but we often talk about certain coups where we go down and first hear about, find out where the Church Brothers are. And most people have never heard of the Church Brothers, much less care that, that any of them are still alive. Go down there, find them, do interviews, and then find out that they have demos that they had done, on acetate. And we're thinking, what a coup when we speak to Walt Saunders from Bluegrass Unlimited. What a coup. We speak to Dick Spotswood. What a coup. And, these are all the people that get the records free, because they're reviewers or whatever. And then, the rest of the world doesn't know. And here we are, basing our enthusiasm on finding something and saying, oh, this is so great. What a coup. And, 15 people care.
Were you familiar with, Kessinger's sort of an example right now, but were you familiar with his 20s recordings at all, or was he just some guy you knew had an old recording career and you'd seen at Union Grove?
By that time, we were familiar with his early recordings.
Okay.
But we wouldn't have been had it not been for, for Ken Davidson finding him and putting out the Kanawha records and bringing him to our attention.
Okay. Trying to get a sense of what this was like now. Spark Gap. One of these was in a theater and one was a radio station recording, right? Joe Howe and Spark Gap, correct?
Yeah.
This one you did. Oh, there's the hole. Okay.
A lot easier since you don't have X-ray vision.
Right. What was the recording of this like in the motel room? How good were you guys?
Well, Ted was good, and the whole record is guitar and fiddle. No, I guess there are one or two vocals that Gene Meade did. I think one, but aside from that, it was real easy.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both very professional and had played together for a long time. Were extremely tight.
Right. Okay. Now, what's number 5, which is not on your shelf and is not here? Is that?
It's in the other room. It's 33 years of picking and something, Snuffy Jenkins and Pappy Sherrill.
That's right, okay. How did you, I know they had an old-time career as well, an older career. How did you come to connect with them?
I believe that we ran into, I can't think of her name now, but she's been in touch recently, a woman who was from Columbia, South Carolina, quite a bit they're younger. And I think we ran into her at Union Grove, or maybe she wrote to us and just said that they were still live and playing. And we followed up and stayed with her when we went down. She's on email too, so we can locate that.
I was going to say, before I leave, and it doesn't have to be before I leave, because we can do this by email. I'd like to try and collect a lot of email addresses. I think the next phase of this for me is other people.
Right, yeah.
I've gotten a lot of sense of what's going on around.
Right,
yeah. I'm really going to get out to other people. Okay. And where did you do that record?
That was in a studio in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay. Is there something you rented to get the engineer from the studio?
Yeah.
Okay. So that went, I take it, reasonably well?
Yeah.
Who produced the record? If it had a producer per se?
I think per se. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we probably helped produce it in terms of saying when we liked a particular tune, or and we were really taken by the Medicine Show artist. They had Greasy Medlin, who was with them, and we hadn't really been familiar with that whole scene, and it was more unusual, even though Snuffy and Pappy were classic artists and still in quite good shape. but we realized that the medicine show tradition was very much a dying one, and ended up getting a fair number of pieces by them.
Now, they actually, I don't know if you remember this, they wrote to you later on and asked about possibility of performing opportunities. Do you remember having any contact with them about the possibility of them becoming an act?
A touring act?
Circa 1971.
No, I don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
they might have been
I think Bill
curious
took care
and desirous,
of
but
Bill took care of a lot of the correspondence early on. Yeah.
Okay. You never did another one with them?
We did two.
You did two of them?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of sellers were they in say the 70s or so?
Slow. Yeah.
Okay.
We are planning to reissue those. Tony Trishka's been supposedly writing the notes for a couple of years.
Okay.
I'm just reminding myself to get in contact with him.
You'll put them on one CD,
Yeah.
maybe a few deletions, or do each of the albums?
I think we were going to do the first one first, and then see.
Do you always reprint the original notes when you do that, by the way? I haven't done a comparison.
Not always. For instance, there are a couple things coming up. The Gray Brothers record, the second one, we are taking totally different notes.
How did the Frank Wakefield record come about?
You skipping country cooking?
What? Well, we talked a lot about country.
Okay. Okay.
And I also want to go back to that in another context.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, since country cooking's on there too. I'm not quite sure where it started. We'd seen him and loved his playing, and he was quite a character. I remember going to the first sessions with Marion. We hitchhiked to Sarasota Springs, where he was living, and the night before session, we all went over to the Cafe Lena. He was pretty friendly with Lena, and we watched some act. I don't remember who it was, and then after we'd been there about half an hour, Frank said that he was going out for a little while and be back shortly. And an hour went by, 2 hours, 3 hours. It was closing time. Frank hadn't come back. We had hitchhiked there, to Sarasota. We didn't have Saratoga, so we didn't have a car. We didn't quite know where he lived. And he wasn't there at closing, and there was all kinds of snow on the ground. And so at, like midnight or so, Mary and I started hitchhiking out to a place we didn't even know where it was. And finally got there. I guess we described the mobile home area, and someone got us there. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, Frank came in, had a huge fight with his wife, and Mary and I were sleeping on the floor of the mobile home. And the next morning, went over to the studio, and Frank was drinking even at that hour, and came over, and there was a piano player and a this and a that, and we just called off the session and got him to drop us off at the highway and hitchhike back to Boston. And then the second time we set it up with Country Cooking, who we had met in Ithaca. Right. And I guess Kenny came up from New York, rounded out.
That time it took?
Yeah, that time it took.
Now he was a revival musician, though. He was around Wakefield. I mean, he was around playing with the Greenbriers. And,
yeah, but he's originally, I wouldn't call him a revival. I mean, I guess that becomes more for ethnomusicologists. But
right. And all I meant in the sense was he was very active.
He was active, but he was from Ohio. He played in the Dayton bars. He did that record with Red Allen way before he came to New York. He did 45s under his own name when he was still in Ohio. And, if you consider, I think it was more that he gave some hillbilly to the Greenbrier Boys,
right,
rather than he was a revival musician.
Right. And by 71, 72, was he recording at all? Was he playing at all?
No, I don't think he was. I don't think he was performing out a whole lot at that point that we knew of.
Right. Skipping something here.
Fiddlin' Steve Ledford.
Yeah. Yeah, how'd the Ledford Band album come about?
I'm not quite sure. We heard that he was still around, and I'm not quite sure. Remember how that happened? It might have been from Pappy Sherrill, or I'm not quite sure. But again, we went down with Ted Osborne to do that, and stayed at Steve's house and did the recording in his house.
Okay. Now, did all three of you go down there?
I believe so.
Now, in 71, were you were out of college, right? Were you a graduate student?
71, I probably...
Or, let's see, now, you graduated college in 66, is that?
Graduated in 66, Wheelock in 67.
Wheelock?
Yeah.
What's the reference there?
Wheelock College did a master's in special education,
Okay, so
dealing with emotionally
67.
disturbed children.
Okay.
And then...
All right, so that was done.
Yeah. And then went to Cornell, I guess, in 68. So...
You were in a doctoral program?
I was in the doctoral program. By 71, I might have either was my final year or I dropped out. We started Rounder when I was still in Ithaca.
Okay.
And then I think the year after, when I couldn't get a committee to do my thesis, is when I dropped out.
Okay. What you want to write your thesis on?
The role of women is reflected in the country music recordings between 1925 and 35.
What program were you in? I remember that really well.
Well,
what program?
when I entered the program, it was child development and family relationships, and when I left, it was human development and family studies.
Okay.
And I didn't change anything; they changed.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't surprise me you couldn't find someone to do that dissertation with you.
Why?
Because I suspect that they should have.
Family studies? Yeah.
They should have been able to.
And there was a music department, sociology department. It was just a little bit too early. It was before all of the trend to do theses that cross departments.
I think that it might have been seen as a frivolous topic by a lot of people.
Well, my advisor loved it.
Well,
but
you would get a committee instantaneously in my department.
Right, yeah, right.
Department.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but,
No, wrong place, wrong time.
But that's what I think. That's interesting. Okay.
I mean, I would have changed to another topic if I could have done something connected with music. But at that point, just interdisciplinary projects were not the rage.
How'd you support yourself 2 years after you were officially not a graduate student anymore and Rounder wasn't supporting you, I assume?
Well, we were living, once we all moved to Cambridge, we were living as a collective.
Right.
And so Bill was still teaching, and the first year, I don't know if it was 71 or 72, I taught for a semester at Lowell Tech, and Marion was working at the Greek Orthodox Seminary, and
Okay.
yeah.
Clint Howard. How did this one come about? And I'm going to stop this relatively soon.
Yeah, I think Clint Howard and Fred Price came through Joe Wilson.
Okay.
And we had met Joe at a bluegrass festival in Pennsylvania, and we had talked a lot. And we had known about Clint and Fred probably from the Folkways, the old-time music of Clarence Ashley recordings.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe had grown up next town over from Clint and Fred and knew them, you know, as kids. I think Joe was from Shounds, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And about the same time, Bruce Kaplan was at the University of Chicago, and Bill had been there as well. And Bruce was talking about starting a record company, and Clint and Fred were some of the people that he was thinking of recording as well. And we, you know, it just seemed that everybody was interested. I don't think this was quite in the coup category, but it's something that we all really wanted to do.
Why not in the coup category? Not such a mythical career.
I guess that a lot of people knew about them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're the Church Brothers, even though I don't know if Marion and Bill would consider that, you know, coup, and we never did anything with it. But it was just as an example. I mean, it's just, I think the coups are either when you find somebody that nobody knew about, you know, an Ed Haley, or if you get above your raising, like when we signed J.D. Crowe, when, you know, the Rebel and County had been around for years and we had never had a national act, you know, and to get one of the top acts in the whole, you know, in the whole circuit, you know, really makes
Who's Ed Haley?
Ed Haley, you really should. That's one of Mark Wilson's projects. In fact, probably Mark's most important.
Okay.
And he was an incredible old-time fiddler. And when you speak to John Hartford, which I think you should do, John has written a book on Ed Haley, just a fascinating story. And Mark came across, I don't know, I think probably with Gus Mead and his Kentucky trip, some home recordings made of Ed Haley, and he's just incredible. And
But not recorded commercially?
Not recorded commercially.
Okay. Which album of that was you?
Ed Haley was, I think, 1010.
Okay. That's not your first Mark Wilson, but you think one of your most significant?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think the first thing that Mark worked on was probably Almeda Riddle.
That's what I was gonna, yeah. That was my impression. How did Fuzzy Mountain come about?
I think we ran into them. My recollection would be at the Morris Brothers Festival or it wouldn't have been Pipes In, probably been the Morris Brothers Festival, and we got to know them and approached them at a festival.
Okay. Where was this recorded?
No.
On here,
Yeah.
but,
And then shortly thereafter, Bobby Thompson died, killed in a car crash.
was that the end of it? Did the group have a career?
It didn't really have they did another record, but that was pretty much it. In fact, that's of the people in the group, Bill Hicks is still around and on email. and he would probably be the best contact. Blanton Owen died in a plane crash like last year, and he would have been great. Yeah, I think Bill would be the best person, and he's remained very, very much involved in the old time scene and writes for the Old Time Herald. And someone else who would be good to be in touch with from that early period is Alan Jabbour.
Yeah, I want to chat with him. He's retired from the archive. Maybe
Right.
he's got more time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there are a few things with him. We used to spend quite a bit of time at the archives, and somehow had the audacity to invite ourselves over and spend evenings at his house early on. So he probably has the, he was quite nurturing, to say the least, during that early period.
Do you have an email address for him?
Yeah, I don't know if I have the new one.
Actually, I could. I'm on a subscription list that he reads to periodically.
Right.
So it shows up there. Well, it's missing from the shelves, but the Tut Tyler.
Tut Norman and Brother Oswald all came through Mike Melford, and Mike was a friend of Bruce Kaplan, so by this time we were working with Bruce.
Okay.
And I think, and Vassar Clements, it doesn't have the same look, and it was done later, but this all came out of John Hartford's band when he did Aeroplane, and he had Vassar and Norman and Tut as his band, and he wanted them all to have solo records.
I see. Okay. You didn't record Hartford at the time, was he just too much of a...
No, it was on Warner Brothers at the time.
Right. The star.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about Norman Blake a bit last time. I guess it just surprises me that he didn't get another deal just because of his prominence on TV. What have you?
Well, he was probably might have not had the right image, or he's a pretty laid-back guy, and he wasn't part of corporate America, even though he, played with cash on TV and things like that. But I don't think he was as packageable as corporate America would like.
Okay, so he went with Bruce for his second and third albums right after you guys split up.
Yeah, well, that was he.
You divided.
Right.
The acts essentially.
He was dealt.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he did something more for you later on, I believe.
Oh, quite a few.
Yeah. And at some point, you and he had some difficulty about the sound quality of something or some tapes. Was there some discord about some recordings made of him?
There was one record, and I don't remember what it was. I don't think it was sound quality. We'll find out because we just located the tapes from that session.
Oh.
But that was way after that. We continued working with him way after that. We just didn't put out that record.
Right. I want to skip down to, if I could quickly, the Almeida Riddle. How did that come about?
I'm sure we saw her at a number of festivals, and we were really taken by her. I mean, she's just a lovely, lovely person, and accepted us all. We had known of her from her Vanguard recordings as well, and she wasn't doing any recording, and so we just, approached her, and she was happy to do it. And I think we went to and recorded her at Angus Studios right out here, and I think she stayed with Mark and Carol Wilson while she was in town. and I believe that Mark did most of the song selection.
Ryan, now you brought her up here. Would you like pay for her to come up? Is that how you would?
I believe so, yeah. She used to buy records and didn't have a lot of cash, and so she'd send us quilts to pay for her records.
This, I would imagine, is something that would really sell only to a few aficionados
Right.
in 1973. And she's not going to go out there. And there's
Well,
no
she
place
was
for her
out
to
there.
go.
She was probably out there, in terms of the revival, she was probably out there more than a lot of people.
Oh, sure. But in terms of 10 years earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 10 years, not in the early 70s.
Yeah.
There I would guess possibly no place. No, she was a fairly big revival name as these things go.
Yeah.
But certainly by the time you did this, I would imagine there'd be no place for her. It was.
Oh, Smithsonian Folklife Festival.
Yeah.
There were a few festivals. Jimmy Driftwood's, whatever his.
Oh, the Ozark.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I gather by and large.
San Diego folk. I mean, there are probably 10 places.
I gather by and large no one bought it.
You'd have to take a look.
Right. You haven't reissued this, have you?
No, we've talked about it.
I don't want to spend all our time walking quickly through. I just wanted to get some sort of flavor of some of the. You say you were considering reissuing the Ola Belle Reed. Why particularly that?
Well, we've actually considered Almeida, the Ted Lundy, the Morris Brothers, and Ola Belle.
Mm-hmm.
Ola Belle came up just recently because the person who did the recording got in touch about doing that. I'd been wanting to for a while, but we really, at this point, have to limit the number of projects that we can do until there's a better way of selling them.
Right. I was going to say, what goes into those decisions about what to reissue? I mean, first and foremost, is it something that you liked and think was done well? I take it that's got to be
right.
a criteria. And beyond that, I mean, do you look at where it fits into the scheme of what interests people today, or?
To some degree, and also, to some degree, what was important to us at a particular time, and sometimes there's a little bit of nostalgia. How did we feel about the artist?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, can we figure out a way to sell enough to make it worthwhile?
What do you remember about the making of the Ola Belle record?
Well, I wasn't there for that one,
Okay.
but I spent a lot of time with Ola Belle. I used to sleep on her floor. We recorded. We had a little project where we tried to record every song that she knew.
Uh-huh.
That took quite a while, and I hung out with them a lot.
Where'd she live when you did that? Down in Galax or around?
Rising Sun, Maryland.
In Maryland?
Yeah.
And is that near D.C.?
It's right on the way, and I would always drive to D.C. to see Hazel or to do sessions, and I'd often stop there on the way or on the way back. They were like a mile or two off the road.
Okay. Now, how old was she when this was made, approximately? Any idea? Must have been 45 or so.
I'd say older than that.
Older than that, I guess. Yeah, older than that.
Because if you look, David is the younger son, and he's probably 18, 19.
Right.
And his older brother was probably 5 years older, so.
55.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is she still alive?
Yeah, she had a stroke and is not in high quality.
Mm-hmm. Have you remained fairly steadily in touch with her?
No. The last time Hazel and I stopped in to see her shortly after the stroke, and I don't know if she could even recognize us.
Really? How long ago was that?
No, this is a number of years ago, probably 10 years.
Okay. Okay. I had skipped country cooking before. I wanted to approach it in a kind of another way.
Mm-hmm.
Is the phrase new acoustic music a rounder phrase?
Yeah, it came from Daryl Anger. And we were, for quite a while, we were trying to come up with something that would differentiate it from New Age and try to put some kind of label on this wide variety of music that was often getting lost in stores because there wasn't any. You know, it was hard to write about it because it was sort of amorphous.
Right. So this was his invention, essentially?
Yeah, his title, yeah.
And you ended up putting it, I saw a poster in, I think it's in Bill and Marion's office that said new acoustic music. Did you guys start putting it on promo materials?
Oh yeah, we did a sampler called New Acoustic Music Sampler, and had an article in probably Fret's magazine. The front cover was New Acoustic Music and had major coverage.
Okay. When did that issue come out approximately? What year, vintage?
Don't know.
Looking for your new acoustic sampler?
Yep. I'll look at the one afterwards. Which does not seem to have a date.
How well do you think you succeeded in getting that term into anyone's consciousness beyond yourself and musicians?
I think it worked pretty well, press-wise for a while, and then I think people sort of moved on from there, and we weren't, we didn't quite keep on with it as people went in different directions, and it seems that Grissman worked harder on promoting himself than anybody else did in trying to keep the new acoustic music.
Well, certainly in California, dog music was known more than
right,
new
yeah,
acoustic
right,
music.
yeah.
In the late 70s,
yeah,
early
right.
80s. I know back then I knew dog music. I didn't know new acoustic music per se.
Yeah.
So I would have known a lot of new acoustic musicians.
Yeah.
How?
I don't know if you've read the notes on the Tony Trischka reissue of his first two records.
No, that's the not the country cooking reissue.
No, no.
So his solo records. No.
Yeah, his first two solo records were reissued as one, I think the liner notes on that are pretty good, pointing out how new acoustic music, and especially a lot of people in the New York scene, preceded Grissman. And, but most of them were, tended to be self-effacing, which was not the case with David.
Right. How did you describe it to people who asked you what it was?
Early on, it depended who we were talking to, but a lot of times we'd say it was people using acoustic instruments, very often from the bluegrass community, who were starting to get into jazz and other forms of music, and this is sort of a new music that's basically acoustic and crossing boundaries.
Okay. Now, you'll never pass what's your dissertation about?
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's too many words.
Yeah.
Okay, and I gather, I mean, we've talked a little bit about this before, you never had any problems with how that fit into what Rounder was doing in terms of...
No, it was sort of,
bluegrass.
I think if you go back to the first two records, again, the George Pegram and the Spark Up Wonder Boys, you're doing traditional or roots music and their contemporary offshoots, and this was a contemporary offshoot. What was interesting during that time is that you'd rarely see us in the middle. You'd see us on the very progressive side with the Trishka and and a lot of the new acoustic music, and then the traditional. But you wouldn't see us doing the country gentleman type things. You see, very, very, most of the bluegrass stuff really has an edge, or it's far out.
Now you're talking about late 70s?
Probably,
Okay. Okay, because then when did you start recording the Johnson Mountain Boys? That was about 81?
Yeah.
Because that was certainly a swing away towards kind of classic bluegrass, I guess.
No, but I'm saying no, I don't think that was a swing away.
Okay.
I think the Ted Lundys, the Del McCurrys, a lot of the stuff that we had done early was pretty edgy.
Oh,
And so
okay,
Johnson Mountain, what I'm saying is we didn't do, the Johnson Mountain Boys were totally in keeping with what we loved.
Right.
And what we had tried to do. We just hadn't found, that many groups, or the people that were real traditional were with other people. But we didn't do the Cliff Waldrons, the Emerson and Waldrons, the, sort of the Charlie Moores, people who had the mellower voices at that time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. At some point, did you decide that new acoustic music was just lost in the shuffle? The marketing concept, the phrase, that its utility was kind of gone.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything that was ever really stated. I think it probably just disappeared partially because we stopped doing as much of it.
Right. Well, you still put it out, or still put out stuff that would be called that, wouldn't you? If it was
every once in a while,
15
much
years
less
ago.
than we did.
Hold on one second. I wanted to talk specifically about some of the Louisiana stuff that you did, both Cajun and Zydeco.
You wanted to skip country cooking. You started to ask about that, and then.
Oh, okay. Well,
and then
let's.
left it.
I know.
Fine, whatever you want to do.
Let's go. I mean, I know I got more
Yeah.
other stuff on that. Why don't we go? I know I got some stuff on country cooking last
Okay.
time, but is there something you felt that you wanted to?
No, because I don't remember what we said last time either.
Okay.
So.
I mean, why don't we run through again? I'm worried now. Maybe I will miss, because I know that those albums, particularly perhaps the second one, are kind of How do you think that fits into the Rounder story? What's significant about the records to you? As you've mentioned twice, you're skipping country cooking. So
Yeah.
You don't want me to skip country cooking in the story, so let's find out why.
Well, I think they're very important in a number of ways. I think that they were one of the first northern groups to really have an impact. I think the Charles River Valley Boys, in a sense, did, but I think it was more through the novelty of Beatle country that they broke through. Where country cooking instrumentally really opened up a lot of people's ears, and I think even with the first record, I think after they played at the Delaware Bluegrass Festival in whatever it was, 71 or somewhere 72, 73 probably, 72, 73, and Bill Monroe came up to him and said, keep on playing those good notes, them good notes. That they were just opening up people's ears. the double banjo stuff. I mean, the whole form, and that was during, their Strager period, and then I think they've gone on. Most of them have gone on to be very successful and important afterwards, and it's almost like the Even Dozen Jug Band, it had all those millions of people that went on in different areas, but to have one group there having such an impact, both for performing up in the north, but also stretching the boundaries of bluegrass and doing it in tasteful and classy ways.
What kind of critical reaction did Barrel of Fun get? Was there writing about that?
I don't remember a whole lot. I think it was, stretching things for a lot of people. And
did Bluegrass Unlimited write about it, for example? Do you recall?
No, but I could check.
I can check too.
One of the writers for Bluegrass Unlimited, Walt Saunders, he's basically retired and has almost every one of his records on computer and can find things like that. And
I was going to ask, that's good, Mary Catherine Alden has done an index of Living Blues, I think Blues Review Quarterly. She sells this thing, and she doesn't charge a lot of money for it. It's great.
Yeah.
So do you know of anything like that for Bluegrass Unlimited or any other kind of, she does it by album, by artist, and once you get it on a computer, you can cross-index.
Oh, yeah. No, I really don't.
Okay.
But Walt's an invaluable source.
What other than Bluegrass Unlimited was reviewing albums regularly?
Picking was very important back then. Earlier than that, Mule Skinner News was very important. It didn't have the readership, but Bill Vernon was writing most of the reviews, and he was extremely articulate and knowledgeable and tasteful. He would be someone who I wish you could interview. He died a couple of years ago. He had an allergy attack and contacted the emergency, and there was some kind of something or other, and they got lost and showed up an hour later, and he was dead on his lawn.
You don't know anyone who owns these, do you? These are hard to find. I've tried to find Mules News.
We have a bunch in the basement. Fred Bardenstein in Ohio would probably have almost all of them. There are a few people that would have them.
Like you said, private collections. I've looked for them through indexes, not picking. I've looked for Mules News through library indexes. You can track them down. They're hard to, people will have 10 issues.
Yeah, right.
Picking, that I don't know at all. Was it Picking with an apostrophe at the end?
Yeah, apostrophe at the end. And it was a very nice glossy publication. Stephanie Legend, Ledgin, was very involved in that. Don Kissel, I think, might have been, he was the editor, and he's still around. And I think
K-I-S-S-E-L.
I think so, or I-L, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, doesn't look right either way.
Okay. Located where? What state was he?
He was in New Jersey, and Stephanie would probably know. I see him at the Cajun Blue, or what used to be called Cajun Bluegrass Festival every year.
And you're in touch with her?
Yeah.
Okay. Why was there not a third country cooking album?
Well, there actually was, but that was on Flying Fish.
Okay.
Or maybe it was the fiction. There were personnel changes, and remember quite how that came about, but not too many of the people were still involved. I mean, people went different directions. It would have been interesting to see where they would have gone next.
Group, yeah.
But by then, everybody was doing solo records too. You know, shortly thereafter, probably only a year or so after that Trishka did his first solo record, and
when did you first hear him play? You first hear him in Ithaca?
Yeah, he was a member
in the context of country cooking? Or?
No, it was pre-country cooking. It was the Contraband Country Band.
Okay.
And they were based out of Syracuse, and I think Wernick was with them at the time, and it was what became country cooking. And I think I believe that Peter said that we had influenced them to change the name away from Contraband Country Band.
Oh, you don't know why?
Oh, I don't remember doing so, but I can see it would be a little bit harder to sell.
He's maybe a little bit younger than you, roughly a contemporary of yours, Tony.
Tony's probably about 5 years younger.
Were you immediately struck by great playing, or what was your reaction to him?
Yeah, great playing, very unusual, tremendous drive, but mixed with the very unusual writing and playing. But it didn't sacrifice. A lot of people, when they get into more unusual playing, sacrifice the drive. And Tony's never lost that.
Do you think you recognized it immediately? Just the quality or uniqueness or any of these things?
Well, I didn't hear it quite as much because most of the early playing was double banjo work.
Okay.
Which was very unusual. There hadn't been very many records at that time.
So you didn't hear it very much. I'm not following because it was...
Because he wasn't playing solos as often as... Well, usually when the banjo came in during that period. But by it was, certainly by the second country cooking record, it was very, very clear. I think Kentucky Bullfight was the tune that it became, it was like a career tune.
Were you talking about what the potential reaction to the record might be before it came out?
No. No, we didn't care back then, I don't think.
I don't mean in terms of worrying about whether it was a smart business decision. No. I just mean in terms of saying...
No. We just figured we liked it, and we thought it was good.
Legend possibly amplified 8 billion times past Scotty Moore turning to Elvis after they played Blue Moon of Kentucky in the studio and saying, they're going to run us out of town when they hear this.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Not that I remember, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to talk some about Louisiana.
Okay.
When was your first trip down there?
I believe it was either 72 or 73.
For what specific purpose?
To record the Louisiana Aces.
How'd that come about? How'd you get put in touch with Menard, or meet him?
We met him at the National Folk Festival, which is at Wolf Trap at that point. And Dick Spotswood had heard a copy of Backdoor and had said, "Who is that?" And and tracked him down and invited the Aces up to D.C.
Okay.
And we were always selling. We would set up our records at the festival, and so we saw them there.
Okay.
So we spoke to them about coming down, and got along great with DL. I remember him saying to Spotswood, that, "Dick, you told me that they were nice, but you didn't tell me they were so nice." Something like that. You say DL.
He's apparently a very
he's a character.
friendly character.
Right, absolutely.
I
And
saw him perform in the Bay Area, but I've never met him or seen him.
need to, real character. So he's, so we arranged to go down there. We drove in our Chevy carryall and brought down a Revox and a little mixer and a bunch of mics, and set up the recording in DL's kitchen, and I was sitting in the bedroom with the mixer and and the tape recorder, and recorded it all direct to 2-track.
Now, you had you been involved at all in exploring Cajun music or anything at all at the time?
No.
And I don't know what DL, I don't know if I'd call him that completely, but I mean, he's not a Dewey Ballful per se. I don't think. I don't know. I think he's but, had you done the licensed material of Dewey and his brothers yet? The Ballful?
No, those hadn't come out. Those came out quite a bit later.
Okay.
I think we had been in touch, but those took forever. Ralph really, was laboring over the notes and everything else, so we left room for those two. But they came out, I think, a couple of years after the Louisiana Aces.
Okay. How did the Ralph Rinsler thing came about? Did he approach you with these tapes? It wasn't. Your bag, so to speak.
It wasn't out of.
Oh no, I just mean within the realm of your. I think it's a rounder product.
Yeah.
I mean within the realm of what you were listening to personally.
Yeah.
At least from what I've got from you, yes.
I think we had heard Cajun music at festivals at the Smithsonian, so it wasn't out there. We just didn't have the knowledge. There's a big gap in our old-timey recording when Mark Wilson was in act.